Fill them up, be revealed in them. Connect them together because you know that this gives him pleasure. There's nothing else. That's why he created the created beings, and by that you are called the servant of the Lord when you make that effort. These are very emotional matters on the one hand, on the other we need to perform them together in a very consistent manner, and I'm glad to feel that there are many friends who understand me and who are ready for that approach. Bulgaria, hello. What's the difference when working with ego with humanity or working with a group? We relate to our ego as a means we need to connect above. Then it is as we learned from the Pelu. You have coarseness of you above it. You have Timsum restrictions such that we don't want to use the coarseness in order to receive. And then we build the master the screen to work with that coarseness to connect together in order to bestow, and then we come into contact with the upper force, with the Creator, so that all of our work will be to bestow to him from us to him. But how can you bestow to him? He needs nothing. So, from the 10 we bestow to other 10s. And so again more and more until we reach a state where we correct the whole vessel of Adamish, and then it's called the end of correction. And what do we do then? I don't know, but truly, if it all ends there, then it's a very terrible situation, because it's as though we corrected ourselves. We did everything. We have to understand that with this reciprocal work, those help those, and we help each other in the body of if we start working like in our inner sphere. Let's say, by that, they give the Creator the ability to be revealed, and then he derives pleasure from it, and we work together. That's how it is for now. After that something else is revealed, but those things are no longer in the wisdom of Kabbalah. They are above it. There are parts in the wisdom of Kabbalah which are called the secrets of the Torah. Of that we shall speak later. Good morning. To increase the friends, to enlarge their importance is the group work with the friends. Good morning. We're P8, and we took it upon ourselves, with joy and fear, the privilege to prepare and guide the preparation for the morning lesson. We chose the topic that we think has the utmost importance, according to what we hear in the lessons in the recent time, which is the mutual responsibility in the 10. Now we will hear a part from a conversation with. Afterwards we will have a workshop about this. What stands before us is connecting between us as one man in one heart, and to find there in the connection between us, inside our connection, find there the unity of the group. It's hard for me to grasp. Didn't I say it? You said it, but it's simply hard for me to grasp. If you were to summarize this as a slogan, what's the topic? The topic is the unity of the group. Unity is a general state. I want more. Is it an or submission? What's inside it? You're already talking about the topics. Yes, I'm not thinking about that. I didn't think about that. That's still far off. But let it be clear to us that the unity of the group is the main thing. We need to care for that. You said as one man with one heart. Can we summarize that? Take that as a topic. As one man with one heart, that we will feel each and everyone depends on the hearts of the friends. Raf is one heart. Is that the arf between us? One heart is our root. It's our root mutual responsibility. So, in what are we mutually responsible for? Each other. And that you love the group. You promise yourself to receive from us forces that will bring you to unity. What do I pay? What does each friend pay to the 10 so as to receive from it forces that will bring him to unity? You give the 10 yourself, the connection you have with the 10. You don't demand anything except that you want them to help you find that point of connection. Friends, let's connect the center of the 10 and let's have a workshop, an active workshop. The question is, what does it mean to give yourself to the 10 again? What does it mean to give yourself to the 10? Good luck. To give yourself to the 10 is to be with intentions for them and bestow. How can I help them? So just give of yourself, not to think necessarily about your progress, but how can I help theirs? And then from that you can get a greater benefit that you'll nullify yourself. Yes, Rab also said in this clip that you give the connection and all you need to receive is just a point of connection. So the effort of each one is only to bring the 10 the friends to the connection between us. That's it. Everything that I can give for that I have to give it. On the one hand to nullify towards the friends as the smallest, on the other hand to want to be a conduit from the Creator to the friends, and that is expressed in trying throughout the day to the connection we've built during the morning lesson. Yes, and also Rap said to love, you need to love the group, and you also trust them that they will bring you. This is what we have to search for, our search for how to reach this love, this connection between us, so that we are able to be certain that we are providing ourselves with the correct state, which is quality our good, between us ultimately. I want that this is what will occupy me, all day long searching for love. Yes, to give our root, to see them already in our root. That's part of the work, to ask to see it that way and to do the maximum both in examples and prayers. We heard Rob said that we heard say that you need to give love to the friends. You have to love them. This needs to be your attitude towards the group. You need to give the 10, the connection that you have with the 10. You need to bring them this connection, this special emotion that you have towards the 10. As we enter the lesson, let's be there for each other. Let's have a common thought, common prayer. Each one gives of himself to the force of the whole 10. Hello friends. In the first part of the lesson, we will continue studying the lesson from September 12, 2020 on the topic of faith above reason, and we will continue with excerpt 37. So we are reading excerpts on the subject of work in faith above reason, and we're in excerpt 37. From Abasher's article, Jacob dwelt in the land where his father had lived. The evil inclination in his body has the power not to let him believe in the Creator above reason by taking out every flavor. Whenever he begins to approach something spiritual, he feels that everything is dry without any moisture of life. When the person began his work, he was told, and he believed what he was told, that the Torah is the Torah of life. As it is written, quote, for they are your life and the length of your days, end quote. And as it is written in Psalms, quote, more desirable than gold, than much fine gold, and sweeter than honey, and the honeycomb, end quote. But when one considers this and sees that the evil inclination is to blame for everything, and strongly feels the bad that it is causing him, then he feels on himself what is written, quote, many are the afflictions of the righteous, end. That is the verse was said about him. At that time he looks at what the verse says afterwards, but the Lord delivers him out of all of them, end quote. At that time he begins to cry out to the Creator to help him, because he has already done everything that he could think of doing, but nothing helped, and he thinks that, quote, everything that you find within your power to do that, do, quote, was said about, end quote, was said about him. At that time comes the time of salvation, the salvation of the Creator, delivering him from the evil inclination to the extent that from this day forth the evil inclination will surrender before him, and will not be able to incite him into any transgression. Should we read it again, or is it enough to ask, or should we move on? Perhaps we can read again if you want. Questions. Again, read it. Again. The evil inclination in his body has the power not to let him believe in the Creator above reason by taking out every flavor. Whenever he begins to approach something spiritual, he feels that everything is dry without any moisture of life. When the person began his work, he was told, and he believed what he was told, that the Torah is a Torah of life. As it is written, quote, for they are your life and the length of your days, end quote. And as it is written, quote, more desirable than gold, than much fine gold, and sweeter than honey and the honeycomb, end quote. But when one considers this, and sees that the evil inclination is to blame for everything, and strongly feels the bad that it is causing him, then he feels on himself what is written, quote, many are the afflictions of the righteous, end quote. That is that verse was said about him. At that time he looks at what the verse says afterwards, but the Lord delivers him out of all of them, end quote. At that time he begins to cry out to the Creator to help him, because he has already done everything he could think of doing, but nothing helped. And he thinks that, quote, everything that you find within your power to do that, do, end quote, was said about him. At that time comes the time of salvation, the salvation of the Creator delivering him from the evil inclination to such an extent that from this day Fourth, the evil inclination will surrender before him and will not be able to incite him into any transgression. So it turns out that the best state is when I feel how much I am in very difficult states when I cannot come out of them, and I have no choice but to turn to the Creator and to ask for salvation from Him. Not that it will become easier for me, and I feel real difficulties, and I feel great torments. I'm not asking for good things. What I'm asking for is not to change these states, because I believe that what I get is my states. Just help me out of these states to be and bestow towards you. Meaning it turns out that with each and every state we're not asking for salvation out of it. We're asking for the ability to be above the state. What does that mean, to be above that state? Not to get rid of this state, but rather to be able to bestow to you as bad as I feel. I turn this bad into leverage by which to bestow good to you. Is this clearer or not? Meaning all the bad things that come, we're not asking for them to be gone, but rather we're asking for a mind and emotion force out of these states to be thankful to the Creator, to adhere to Him, to bestow to Him, because if this state will be gone, I won't have what to bestow from, because only to the extent of the difficulty of being in a certain state and this hardness, difficulty, it becomes in order to bestow. The out the coarseness becomes a quality of bestow upon which I perform screen reflected light. I'm not asking for to be better off, but rather specifically in this state, which is bad for my will to receive. I rise above my will to receive. I don't take it to account so much, even though I feel it very good. I feel the bad, but I rise by seeing the opportunity for me to bestow to the Creator. That's more important for me than feeling myself under pressure, pain, not okay, not good, confused, scared, etc. If we'll talk about everything a person should feel when the Creator is bestowing upon him, showing it as bad, well then to understand that only if he's incorporated in a society drawing the forming light can he change it to a true good state. This is regarding our personal business. Regarding our general business, well, we're in this state in the world right now. Look at the world. What's going on with us? Humanity is helpless, searching. All kinds of wise people are looking and trying to find new jobs or stuff, and there's a matter of the elections, and that doesn't matter what's going to happen until humanity will understand that it has to look not for a way to come out and to return to life, to the life it had. No, but rather it must look for a way to live correctly in a good way, when good is correct. Rather than chasing money or trips, or things that confuse you and make you control each other. Until we understand this, I'm talking about the entire humanity, until we ask for corrections over it, forces, in order to properly connect so that all of us together can bestow in a mutual manner to the Creator. All these pandemics won't be gone, they'll only switch their forms, instead of small evil to bigger one and even bigger evil. This is clear, right? So, what are we going to do with the questions? Amit, tell me. Well, let's start from Hebrew 10. Yes, Abash describes a state where a person can reach above reason, but because he was told, he believes that the tower is the tower of life, he can. Advanced question is, what is that faith? He was told about if it's not faith, about reason, he has by that he's starting from simple knowledge, not even faith. Knowledge knowing that he has nothing to do about it. All these blows are coming. He don't know where from. All he has is a thread, some opportunity to see things differently than humanity, the way humanity sees it through the wisdom of, and he's searching this way. It's the beginning. It's a thread, so it's knowledge. It's not faith yet. It's not yet faith, but that's how he gets to faith. North 1. You had a question mark. No. Can you hear me? Yes. So continuing the previous question, what is the state called faith in spiritual work? Faith in spiritual work is the force of bestow. That's it. Moscow 6. Abash writes it as though it relates only to me, but how to relate it to the 10? Out of feeling that it relates to you, you should turn to the group that should aim you at the group. Moscow 7. I had a similar question. When I experience unpleasant sensations, turning to the Creator that's clear, but how to turn to the group that's less clear. I feel bad. I should think why the Creator awakens me in such a way so that I above my personal evil. Personal I'll turn to the group with love and throw it to the entire humanity, which is basically my real work and the true state I should be in, and the fact that I feel bad is only in order for me to know how to correctly above this evil. To turn to the general clee to the group and to the creator focus group. Hello. It's a question from the internet friend from is asking what does it mean where it's written that from this day forth the evil inclination surrenders and cannot incite him into any transgressions. We say that the evil inclination is not an old until the end of correction. It's always an aid against oneself. The evil inclination is not cancelled until the final correction. It's only corrected more and more in order to bestow us from the light to the heavy. Meaning, every time the evil inclination that's revealed every day is revealed in a bigger, more cruel, vicious way, confused way, etc. We have to understand that every day we have to work with it this way to bring it to the group and to ask. We're in the group to ask for help above from the Creator will illuminate on us, and then this evil inclination will be corrected. Latin 6. Good evening of. I'd like to ask about what you said with respect to the low state where a person is turned off, like if I'm in a completely opposite state. It makes me ask questions. I think I understand what my off says, how to work so that when that low state comes I can correct it, as you say, to hold myself to the higher states. There are two states here. Either beforehand I was connected very well to the group, that's why I'm in preparation in the group, and whatever appears to me as an additional evil inclination is the left line, and I work with the right line, and that's how I overcome, and I walk in the middle line forward. If I'm not properly connected to a group, well then the revelation of this evil inclination will throw me down, and I have to annul myself to it, annul myself to the group, and so gradually I wake up, but still all my work is in annulment. All the degree starts from timsum, restriction, and above this timum I extend the correction of the vessel of the Kaimosco 3. As we turn to the Creator with greater power, so does fear of the Creator appear. What is that fear? What is it for? What is that correction? Fear, you can read it in the Zohar in the first lore. What fear is? Fear is the most important thing. It's the biggest thing. It's the infrastructure for our whole correction. So I have fear there. It's explained that there are 3 fears. You should read it, that we should be not fearful about our situation. What you mean? But fearing about, can I bestow to the Creator from my current state? That's the fear I should have, or not, if I'm constantly in this fear. Like an infrastructure to my relation to life. Am I bestowing to the Creator in each and every moment of my life? Am I relating to Him? Am I looking at Him? Am I constantly in connection with Him? Somehow connection, inclined towards Him. That's the infrastructure for all my correction. All the rest of the degrees of fear won't reach you because you're already afraid of how can you bestow to the Creator. That's why all the changes that will take place on you will be only as means how to bestow to Him. Your life becomes completely different. Try it. Latin. Good evening. It's a question from the 10. What happens when we see the difficulty that a friend has and we try to do everything to lift him up, and despite that he continues in the same state, despite all the attempts to elevate him, he continues in that state? Well, you should see, maybe if it takes a while, still hold him, so he should stay with you. Besides that, try to talk to his family, but his wife, a wife really affects her husband. It may help him, especially in Latin America. Out of my experience, I know that the women there are real, strong, purposeful, beautiful. They can really influence their husband. In general, everywhere in the world, if a woman wishes to do it, she really affects her husband. That's how the Creator made us. There's nothing to be ashamed about. Here, we're weak before women. Yes, okay, Florida. I thank you, Ra, you tell us to feel the space between us with love. If I love all the friends from my vintage friend, I can feel the connection between us all. But if I despise even a little bit one of them, that connection is broken. No, it's on the way. You always try to build an equal relation between everyone. If you try to rebuild a really equal attitude for everyone when you rise above your ego that aims you to one, compared to the other more or less. Rather you start feeling the 10 more and more as one. But there's a danger here that, as if you're having more distance from the 10, as if the 10 is a dead thing, is a given thing. No, if you really want to feel everyone equally, even though each one is very different from the other or from you, but he is real dear to you, then you reach the center of the 10, and there you can reveal the Creator. Then in such a connection between them, one, you attain this concept of one. One is the Creator. Toronto 1. You said after we read the excerpt that it doesn't matter how we feel, but what's important is do we delight the Creator. What does that mean? Well, you should feel it, and then you'll tell us of 2. Here in the excerpt it says with relation to the evil inclination, with relation to the flavor. If there is flavor, I understand that there's a connection with the upper one. What's the flavor we should have with relation to the evil inclination? Basically the taste should be bitter if you're looking at it properly. Yes, you won. Morning, Rob. In this article, this is a question from the 10 that we discussed together. Makes it sound like it's a simple process that all one has to do is cry out to the Creator for help. And we discussed this, that when he says one or him, that it's really the combined group. So it should say that the 10 should cry out together. So here, we are gathering daily with meetings throughout the day, multiple meetings throughout the day, and discussing and workshopping and preparing for the morning lessons. So how do we come together and cry out in such a way that we can actually feel this as a 10 and see, the result that the Creator gives to the 10. Yeah, I understand what you're asking, and indeed you guys are advancing well, and what you're asking will become revealed in you. It will become revealed as a common force out of which you will see that you are turning to the Creator to feel the heart of the group. There is a force binding you together, so you're many but you're connected. And then there is the concept of a single force. You are, what are you, 13 I think, right now at least. I didn't really count. Yeah, 13. Okay, so instead of being 13 ones connected, then comes the 1, and the 1 is not on the level of the 10 anymore. That's on a level above the 10, whereby the unity of 13 that become 1, you break into a higher, greater degree, and then on a higher degree, you'll receive a greater evil inclination, troubles, chaos, and you'll once again feel that you're being separated, despite the previous connection. That these arise separate to you again, and you work on them again. And this is how, each time you come from 10 to 1, from 10 to 1 and a few such exercises, and you already begin to feel the upper force working in you. French. Hello. Should we go through a state of loneliness in order to correct the evil inclination? And then what way can a friend in the 10 what should he do when I'm in a state of loneliness? Says that if a person sees that his friend is in loneliness, he has to go down to his friend's state, connect to his friend, and raise his friend upward. However, it's him making an additional pot over himself when he goes down. He actually in himself remains above, otherwise he falls together with the friend. So with his external pot he connect to the friend, there they feel together, and then he activates his upper pot and thus begins to raise both of them together. That's the work. Try to talk about that, and maybe even realize it's somewhat in the 10. United V33. Shots. Pushing the TU is like a goodbye, and shots. No, that's the issue of well, shots and goodbye. But it's not that one pushes forward and the other pushes backwards. No, goodbye and shots both work together wherever the 10 is. They try to put the work into order. That's the goodbye basically, and the prayer by the shots. Essentially, it can be the same person, the same one person on duty every day. Okay, Germany 3. Good morning. You said not long ago, you spoke about the heart of the 10, how to get to the heart of the 10, how the quantity of friends and our common meetings influences the quality of the work. Well, in terms of the quantity that's needed could be 10, maybe 12 or 13, but not too much. And try, by reading the articles, to understand them together, feel them together. This way, we will calibrate our hearts to the right mutual connection with respect to the external phenomenon for everyone, and that's how we'll bring our hearts closer. So the articles of rubbish or excerpts that we are reading, they're very important for us to calibrate our hearts and direct them to one goal. Okay, who else? We didn't have PT 29. Question from the 10. If we feel, now we lost the sound. No, we don't hear you. Go ahead. Okay, again, if we feel the evil inclination. And he writes, it is a time of salvation. How is it a time of salvation if we feel only the evil inclination? It's good if you feel only the evil inclination. But are you aware that you feel only the evil inclination? If you do and you say that it's evil, then you already have some discernment towards good. That's great. Start working. All right. Okay. Amit, another one. Can I ask another question about this excerpt? Okay. He begins by saying that the whole complaint of a person is that he feels he doesn't feel any flavor, any moisture. It becomes dry, and it's like the inclination comes and takes out though it makes it tasteless for him. So yes, why should he complain? He should say, great, now I have room to work without any flavors, or work what it's not good, not in good, or in bad. If I'm not drawn to spirituality, then I'm not. But if I'm at least repelled from spirituality, at least that. But if I have neither of this nor that, I'm just like people outside, just like the whole world is. So he's talking about a state of detachment, indifference. Yes, there's nothing worse than that. Very hard to get out of. Friends need to carry me on a stretcher. Bring me into the group. Come on, let me lay on the floor like a dead corpse, and just let me be with them. And then, gradually somehow I will be impressed by them, and in that state a person may ask to feel flavor, to feel life in the spiritual path. Is it permitted for him to ask something like that? Permitted. Of course, it's permitted. What do you mean if to pray whether to the friends or the Creator? Of course, anything but remain indifferent. All right. Read the next excerpt for us. Excerpt number 38. Frun, the striking of thoughts upon men. Because of the striking of upper light, which strikes the that curtain, light sparkled from them, and went through that mass screen. We can interpret that striking is the thoughts that strike a person, trouble him and tire him, and he has thoughts this way and that way. And all this is because he has a mar. If he keeps the mass and agrees to walk on the path of the Creator, which is regarded as mind, as scrutiny, when he comprehends that it is good for him to accept faith above reason, it is considered that it causes an addition of light in the upper degree, for the joy comes specifically through the scrutiny. This means that although he does not really feel the importance of the upper one, the scrutiny is through a mass called an attempt, regarded as concealment. But when he overcomes the mass and sustains it, meaning he does not cancel the mass, this causes joy above, and then the upper one also gives him joy. That is to the extent that he received the importance of the upper one above reason. That same measure of greatness of the upper one extends to him within reason, no less and no more. Again, because of the striking of the upper light which strikes that curtain, light sparkled from them, and went through that mac. We can interpret the striking of the striking. We can interpret that striking is the thoughts that strike a person, trouble him and tire him, and he has thoughts this way and that way. And all this is because he has a mass. If he keeps a mark and agrees to walk on the path of the Creator, which is regarded as mind, as scrutiny, when he comprehends that it is good for him to accept faith above reason, it is considered that he causes an addition of light in the upper degree, for the joy comes specifically through the scrutiny. This means that although he does not really feel the importance of the upper one, the scrutiny is through the mass called an attempt, regarded as concealment. But when he overcomes the mass and sustains it, meaning he does not cancel the mass, this causes joy above, and then the upper one also gives him joy. That is to the extent that he receives the importance of the upper one above reason. That same measure of greatness of the upper one extends to him within reason, no less and not more. Have you got questions about this or the previous excerpts? I see KV wants to ask. Do you want to ask about this excerpt for what we read before? This excerpt, you sure, is about this, and the previous one in the same question. What we read about now, so when he writes here, that when you feel some disturbance or suffering and you overcome it, you work on love of friends, and you come to this feeling that fills you. How do you come from that state to a state where you awaken joy from above, on your own? You cannot awaken joy above unless you become the 10 becomes as one, at least inclined to it, because the difference between the degrees is that 10 becomes 1 on the higher degree. Then a will to receive is added. That one develops into another 10, seemingly another 10. It's a new desire, and once again you need to turn into 1, and then you rise above, and this is how you rise in this kind of dynamic. So, trying to bring contentment to the Creator individually is just impossible. 3. Does the force of Zoom come from seeing the greatness of the friends? Yes, everything comes through the greatness of the friends. All spiritual discernments come through the greatness of the friends. It becomes the key where you observe, receive spiritual discernments. The greatness of the friends is basically the precondition. That's where the 10 becomes in your eyes, in your heart, that is as one heart. Who's PT 13? No. What does it mean to the extent that he receives the importance of the upper one above reason? How can you accept the upper one above reason when you simply surrender in the meantime? In the meantime, you surrender to the upper one, which means that you take you, receive his a dominance, his superiority over you. That's in the meantime. Later on, the upper light comes and reorganizes us. It's not that we are capable of building the degree that is above reason. It happens by the influence of the upper light. However, we make all the preparations for the light to influence us and design this degree of the force of being above the force of faith above reason. PT 34. Good morning. I wanted to understand what Kabish writes here. For example, I came out of the lesson. I went out to the day, and I went out from the thoughts of the lesson. The day pulls me left and right. All kinds of thoughts. On it's like a question. It's like a question. Well, the scrutiny is after the lesson. When all the thoughts come and pull me left and right, or this scrutiny that the light eliminates all the nonsense, and then I have to connect to the society to return from that from this process. Yes, and I'm asking you, you're part of the band, right? Which means scrutiny. So, scrutinize before you ask. It was difficult to ask. There's no such thing. So just know that I don't understand any of your questions. This way, if write it in front of you. Write in front of you what you're going to ask. Shorten your whole explanation to a single sentence or two. No, scrutinize it with the others. You have a group, try to process the question through them that you're going to ask. There's no there's no other way. You can't ask this way. It's a sign that you yourself don't understand exactly what you're asking. I'm telling you, you need to write in advance. I can show you here the excerpts that we're reading today. You can't see my screen, right? I can show you how before the lesson with you, I wrote down what I should mention, this or that. You think I just come here and improvise like an actor on stage. It's not serious. I have to be responsible for the lesson from what I'm doing and make sure that there is a clear direction throughout the lesson and progress. And so even though I know what needs to happen in order to actualize a few steps forward, I have to write it down. Sorry, seriously. And I remember in university there were many kinds of different professors, but there was one, he would come like an old one. He was one of the older ones. He would come and take out of his pocket one note, one page, one piece of paper, looks at it, puts it back into his pocket, and talks. After 15 minutes, takes it out again, takes a peek and keep talking. And that was a true teaching plan and working plan, and we would very much appreciate it. But if he would just talk all over the place like you, we want to learn from all the questions. Okay, good. Oh, South one. We had North today. So, South, have I heard that one does not count. So, my question is, does a cabby bring contentment? By who works alone. No one brings contentment to the Creator unless to the extent that he's included in the 10. but Gabby is included in the 10. No, it doesn't matter Gabby or not Gabby. Everyone according to how much he is integrates with the 10 he brings. Contentment Gabby and shots do the work on behalf of the group. On behalf of the group, and to the extent that they do their work correctly, the whole group benefits. The whole group, and they need to respect that they are serving the group, not the creator. So don't bring the Gabby and shots as those who are conspicuous in the eyes of the creator. No, they are there to serve, to be under the group. 1. I'm asking on behalf of a friend who says he understands that everything is through the greatness of the friends, our spiritual development. But there is a friend in the 10 that he doesn't get along with. What should he do? It's been going on for a while. He's doing what? There's only one friend that he doesn't feel good with. He's got a friend in the 10 that he doesn't get along with. He doesn't feel good with him. He does. So he should turn to the whole 10. Ask them to help him make good relationship with that friend. There's no human calculation here. Some pride, some attitude. He hurt me. I don't want to talk to him. This is something eternal. Great, grand, what kind of calculations you can have here. I go to the 10 and I ask them, guys, help me fix my relationship with this friend. I don't have a choice. Otherwise, no one else advances. If I don't do this, then I'm drilling a hole in our boat. Hello, my question concerns the scrutiny that I've said about the general correction and the personal correction. How do you deal with the affliction of the many, like who left at the ruin of the temple? For example, now there's corona and the world is suffering. So how do we work with it? We mustn't laugh like Rabbi Kiver, because Rabbi saw the plan from here to the final correction, including our state. And he saw that in 2,000 years there's going to be such a group like, and you will be asking this question, and that's why he laughed at everything he saw happening in his days as a necessary preparation of the ruin and the destruction, the shattering for the state that we're in today. And so, specifically following Rabbi Archer, we need to attract the whole of humanity to connection, because it was necessary for them to shatter. Even though he yelled at them, love thy friend as thyself, until the very last moment, because it was his job to awaken them. But we, from below upwards from the shattering, we have to try to turn to them as well, with love their friend as thyself, meaning from the 10 to broader circles, to continue the path. I understand, but if, for example, I imagine that I understand how to work individually, and I succeed in doing my work there, but in the general correction, what do I do with this? Sorrow, pain, but the affliction of the world. You need to feel their sorrow, and correspondingly you need to feel the right cure to that sorrow. I'm not laughing at the public who's suffering. God forbid. No, there are families, children, the whole world in pain. 8 billion people are. They're all suffering. Today, there's no one who's not suffering. Finally, people are starting to write about this, meaning that the first blow of the pandemic passed. People are beginning to recover in their mind and see they have a place to observe from the side, to start looking at what's going on, what's going to happen. And so this is beautiful. It's beautiful to see what's happening. I'm seeing from articles that I read. I'm looking at things except for Israeli television. They're just, on a trip there, but just keeps going. It's horrible. But generally speaking, I see there are some serious articles that say that whatever happened is in the past. What's going to happen is not what we had. That is already a good stage. Now we just need to explain what needs to be done, so that what happens will be good. What does the integral global system of nature, which is all connected and appears in our time, what does it demand from us? And I think that people today can already perceive this. Okay, son. Oh yes, thank you very much. I also think that in Israel it is possible for people to start listening. Maybe in the government it's possible to start hearing as well, because there's no choice. Bit by bit, I don't think that they can suddenly jump on all of this, and it's of course, it objects, resists their spirit and their political platform, but they can already understand that they're going to have to change themselves in this direction, and then they can really be better off. Can you explain why the scrutiny and faith about reason with the mass the screen brings joy? What's the mechanism? Joy is revealed from the influence of the upper light, joy from good deeds as they write. That's why we're happy, queens. No, they don't have a question. Sorry. Okay, who else? Who did we not have? Remind me. We didn't have Moscow 1. We didn't have Moscow 1. Okay, please. Moscow 1. Here in the beginning of the excerpt, he says that out of the striking of the upper light on that's green. Yeah, okay. I mean, where else? Germany 3. Okay, Germany 3. I'd like to continue the question from Belarus. The joy in our work. Do we give the Creator when we give joy to the Creator from our work? Do we also get joy, or only the Creator decides when we get joy? You need to reach a state where if you bring joy to the Creator, that is your greatest joy. There is nothing greater than that. Try to think about it and read about it. There are texts about it. Good morning. Can you hear me? Well, we don't hear you. Your microphone is not working well. Maybe push it away from your mouth a little bit. Good morning. Can you hear me now? Talk. My question is, can a person develop without a 10, the group, the environment, without a 10, without the 10, you can't develop at all. You might as well just leave everything you're doing. There's no way, in the wisdom of Kabbalah and spirituality, to develop without somewhat recognizing the system of putting together the system of that was shattered. P.T. Young. Good morning. What does it mean in our work? What is a mass, and how can we do it in a 10? M is the power to overcome my egoistic desire, and I when I overcome it, so as to appreciate the actions of bestow and love of others. Then, loving myself. PT 22 writes in the article to the extent that it receives the importance accepts the importance of the upper and above reason. That's a measure of greatness extends him within reason. What does it mean, and what kind of reason, what kind of knowledge is it? A person to 10 to the extent that the mass rejects the self-benefit and appreciates the upper one, by that he can later attain the upper one. PT 31. Ravu recommended before. You said that you go over the exams and you write down comments. I wanted to ask if it's your recommendation to us to read the excerpts before the lesson, to write down notes. Of course. Why not? Everything is open. What are we looking for? Surprises? Of course not. We want to know and discuss the material in depth. And the lesson is the scrutiny in the connection between us. It's not about each one understanding in his own narrow, egoistic, short-sighted mind. We're not going to understand anything there. That the lesson is for us to connect, and through our connection begin to scrutinize. And what I understand before the lesson is what I understand alone. And even if I want to connect with others, it's still not enough. It's insufficient when we're together in the lesson. However, wanting to connect and scrutinize between us in the connection between us, the subject matter of the lesson, that's a different thing. That's already spiritual, but these are actions that we awaken and discover in a damelin, in the general clay. You understand? That's a totally different thing. So what I do before the lesson, it's just me trying to get into the material, awaken myself, connect with you through how I'm already connected to you, and try to stabilize today's clay. But after you're connecting and you're starting to take action, that's a totally different thing. Then the light comes from the complete clay that is going to connect, that is going to become corrected. So there has to be preparation. I wanted to ask because I remember from the past that you said that you come to the lesson and you don't even know what we're going to learn. You're told what's material. You look at it, and as you go you learn. I remember that she said, "It's true," but I had my own kind of preparation. I told you already before, and even Rabash would see that I read Jamarti before the lesson, and he asked me and I told him yes, that before I come to the lesson I wake up and I read Jamarti, and he treated this very seriously with a lot of appreciation. So that's something we have to. Another question regarding the learning itself. In the last few months, we sometimes read a small excerpt and scrutinize it. through the rest of the lesson. Sometimes we don't even read anything. Just answer questions. Does that require different attitude on our part? Different learning? No, because our goal is connection between us through connection between us, we scrutinize the spiritual discernments, and without connection between us, we won't achieve spiritual discernments. We will just have, just like now, corporeal discernments between us. You understand that's a big difference, and that's what we need to achieve. So we have no choice in the lesson. We have to try to be as one man in one heart. New York 2. Thank you, Rob. Regarding the excerpt, what does it mean to overcome? To stain, not cancel a mass. And why does this bring joy to the upper one? When I overcome and not cancel the screen, even the opposite, I want to guard the screen, strengthen the screen, rise above the screen, which means that I want to entirely remain in bestow, and then even my will to receive, I want to carry it above the restriction, take it above the mar, meaning to work with it in order to bestow, and then to the extent of that effort I begin to discover spiritual discernments. It's in that effort that I make, that's where it appears my effort becomes the returning the reflected light, and that's where I discover some of the direct light. You understand Kazakhstan? Okay, Kazakhstan. Thank you very much. To continue your question, it says that it doesn't feel more importance and the scrutiny is done with the help of the mass, which is called an experience, meaning the quality of what is the joy from the quality of concealment. My will to receive, I forcefully push it inside, keep it inside, and I work above my desire where I feel your desire, trying to bestow to you, and not my will to receive where I wanted to bestow to myself. So everything I wanted to bestow to myself, I now directed the desire to bestow to you. This is called restricting myself, the mass where I invert my action to bestow upon you and reflected light. That's the work. We will gradually talk about it more and then realize it. We're close to it. We're close. No, this work is more within reason. No. From your mind to you. Start working on your emotion. It's not just you don't do it intellectually. You use your mind to work on your emotion. Try to do all kinds of exercises. I did such exercises with my kids, with my little daughter, Shai's wife. I used to tell her, you like fish. She likes fish. She liked fish. She was 6 or 7 years old. I told her, okay, if you like the fish, so kiss the fish before you eat it. Give it a kiss. Come on. No, she couldn't. Why? But you love the fish. You know these examples. You need to play with it. So you see exactly the mind, the heart towards me, towards you. Let's summarize the lesson in the tense. Something essential in the connection in the 10. There's no human calculation. He hurt me. I was offended something personal. There is an eternal calculation here. It's aboutness. This was really something very interesting, that a lesson is the scrutiny of the connection between us. A lesson is in order for us to connect what I understand before the lesson. I understand it by myself. That's not enough in the lesson. When we want to scrutinize something together, it's something totally different. That is spirituality. All of the spiritual discernments come to us through the greatness of the friends, and that is our vessel. Essentially, this is the first condition where Rar said that we always begin the work from the greatness of the friends, from working on the greatness. Another thing, that one who becomes incorporated with the 10 brings contentment to the Creator. Rar was asked about that goodbye and the shouts, and can they bring contentment to the Creator? So only if each friend becomes incorporated with the 10, then he brings contentment. We also talked about the measure of the difficulty or hardness in the situation. The more difficult the state is, if we invert it, then it becomes greater bestow. We also talked about spiritual fear, the correct fear as we call it. If you are always in this kind of fear, can I bestow to the Creator on the state that I'm in? Then the other degrees of fear won't come to you, because this is the basic state. This is the basis of our correction fear. I also heard that everything begins from the greatness of the friends. That's the first vessel also. The matter that we from 10 need to become one, and that's how we rise to the next degree, and we receive more coarseness, and it's the same thing happens again, and we cannot bestow contentment to the Creator, if not through incorporation in the 10. And there's what I learn individually. And another thing is what we do together during the lesson, which is already spirituality. My friends said what I also wrote down. This spiritual fear is that we need to check ourselves every moment, whether I'm giving contentment to the Creator or not, and I'm giving contentment through incorporation. So from every state above reason means, at each time I tried to bestow to the 10, with love and through it the world too. The Creator was another issue. You try to feel each and everyone in the 10 is equal in your attitude towards Him. Then you begin to feel the center of the 10. Question: does the force of restriction come from seeing the greatness of the friends? Yes, everything on the way, all the spiritual discernments only through the greatness of the friends, which is like a vessel becomes the vessel in which you begin to experience spiritual discernments. The greatness of their friends is like the first condition that the 10 becomes in your heart, in your eyes. It means in your heart as one. Yes, our work is always in overcoming above the states that the Creator sends us in the will to receive, and we need to rise above it, and each one should focus actually on how he feels the friend's desire. I've talked about the hardness and the coarseness. We don't ask that the bed states will disappear, but rather we ask only to give thanks to the Creator and bestow to Him. This was about evil inclination. Then he talked about the fact that when we study together, we read articles together, it really changes us. Through that we make our work more precise. Every state is for the better. The first state was given to you in order to transcend it, to bring contentment to the Creator. We're emphasized we have to work above the hardships, not to cancel the hardships. When we work above the difficulties, that's actually with the Creator's help. That's the right way, not with our personal strength, but with the Creator's help. Okay, hello friends. We are together now, building a spiritual society. We see how this reality happens from day to day, and we are building together our society. Today, we want to continue to create and build the connection, the convention. And 2 weeks ago, we started this conversation about the Congress. We spoke between us. We thought we sent ideas. Probably each one had some ideas in mind since then and some impression from the discussion we had. Today, we'll try to better understand what is clear to us. What's more, we'll try to form our direction together. That's what we'll do. Now, we'll connect so that from our connection, it will become clearer to us what we want to do in our Congress, and especially in the preparation for it, which is most important. Let's begin. We are used to seeing our Ravi leading the Congress. We used to, that for 20, 30 years, that each and every Congress, Rav is pushing and directing and leading, and he himself also activating the Congress, whether it's lessons or directions for the cultural events or the what to do in the breaks and preparation. Everything is Ru. And now the responsibility for leading the Congress goes to us, to our society, to the world. We are the ones who have to prepare the Congress and build it and do it and push ourselves as a single society to our next degree. So let's begin with a clip from Rob, and right after that we'll go to a workshop. To relate to the Congress means that we want to connect between us through our messengers, representatives in the Congress, and we want to build from that a special common that will tie all of us together. In this common vessel, we'll be able to maintain all of our expectations, our goals, and we'll answer all our questions. So this is the main thing. We want to build a unified vessel, a common vessel that will tie all of us together, and it will be able to hold all our expectations and our goals and answer all our questions. Let's start with our first question. We want to discuss the concept of the Congress, the main theme that will guide us. What central theme? What concept should accompany us for the 3 months of preparation? It could be very creative and broad on the one hand, but on the other hand, it has to be anchored in our reality. So, what is the theme that will give a clear direction for the whole Congress? There are many directions. We want to start consolidating everything towards one central direction to our life. It could be, for instance, the spiritual future of BB. It could be the last generation. It could be dissemination of Kabbalah, the social articles of Rabash. Could be many directions. We want to try to form a direction in every 10, and then we'll hear the tense. We want to try to form one clear direction. It's also a good place to think about everything broadly, without any limitations. Of course, there are the general boundaries we're familiar with of time and place, and what we're able to do, but also possibly thinking about different format, different structure, and even schedule for the Congress. So, let's think first about the main idea that will accompany us and what is the shape of it. 10 minutes. Go ahead. Array is going to be less in the lesson, so, but it doesn't matter, we'll be with the friends who will lead the lessons. Now, about the topic, I'm not sure, but what comes to my head now is that Raf said that in the future. It won't be Raf, it will be a group, and the group will work opposite the creator. So maybe we should take this topic that our work is opposite the creator or the work of each, and everyone opposite the creator. Where work of the 10, the work of the world, opposite the creator as a topic. I think we need to take our vision and realize it until the Congress, during the Congress, after the Congress. When I asked, he said that the topic should be one man in one heart. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, he wanted to ask what do we want, and I would have liked us actually to make the main theme to be one man in one heart, and how to build it gradually from all sides. What are the things that we need to scrutinize and work within order to establish ourselves as one man in one heart on the level of the entire world? I actually thought a topic of like our role in the world, which could also be about what's required of us to be a group of Kabbalists and continue Rob's path, and essentially what's our role in the world. We can also have lessons on how each one is special in receiving this opportunity to be a pioneer in the world, and also what are we? Why are we doing this role? And we mostly influence the world through our connection, and so how much does the world needs it and depends on it, and how much can we incorporate with the sorrow of the public? Basically, it includes everything, I think, including being as one man. What exactly are we doing to connect could all be a part of it. When I heard here the examples that they presented, one of them that really captured me is the spiritual future of the neighbour. This seems to me as very relevant, because we see what the whole world is going through, all the revolutions and changes that are happening, AI and all of the great things that are happening, and wars, and all the other things that happened. And then our state as Baru, and the state of RA with the management, and the new reality. And so, enter a scrutiny, a process of how do we establish the next degree of neighbour. I think we also need to think of something that can hold for 3 months of preparation. Not just hold, but there will be benefit from scrutinizing the main issues about the unity of the group. Could be our voodoo, could be the social articles, could be prayer, faith above reason. It's all good, but we have to get into some process of work and preparation, and then the Congress will be a continuation of that whole work. I want to say a few basic assumptions, postulates. First of all, we say that 1 minute is the whole world, so I want to say that the 10 is exactly like the world. If we will succeed in bringing a special quality in the 10 into the 10, then we bring it to the whole world. So, to increase the importance of the work that's done in the 10. Second, from Rab's words, to build a special common vessel that will bind all of us, meaning the connection between us, the bonding. Earlier, we heard that suggested to see things that are happening in the context of what he called the personal. Look at it from the perspective of eternity and eternal calculation. After saying these things, it seems to me that the basis upon which every structure that we will want to build should be is and self-annulment, which is probably the most difficult thing. So, from all of these things, I now think that our vote in the 10, which its practical manifestation is annihilating the individual and seeing the group in its eternal form. That is the subtitle that should give us work for at least 3 months. Yeah, there's really many topics, annulment, corporation or VAM. Every topic is really important. The question is, I thought, how does Ravi typically choose a topic? He probably feels what's important and most needed right now. And I guess he feels it kind of from above. it becomes revealed. So maybe we do have to try to feel what is it truly now that we're lacking. And in the preparation, we can do such workshops every day for incorporation with each other, and every friend will share their hearts. What they feel is lacking, what they feel is needed right now, and from this whole incorporation and scrutinies, it's possible that from our society the theme for the Congress will arise. You are right in the lesson Rob said, that the 10 is like a mini. Maybe the topic can be, how do we build a complete 10? There is a topic that we don't feel yet, which is the connection between the 10s. That apparently is above us, and we don't yet feel it. We don't quite know what it's about. But maybe it's worthwhile to open this topic and build it during the next 3 months so that the efficiency will be formed in us for the connection between 2 10s, or all the 10s, to jump into a degree that is truly high out of intensive preparation towards it. And I think that more or less this could be any topic it could be, but I'm looking for something that can give us more power, motivation. I'll talk about our role in the world, which is every time that we learn, we need to kind of come out of ourselves more and more, and that's exactly influences us, how everything essentially depends on us, all of reality, the whole world. And it really begins in the 10, like friends said, all friends depend on me, all corrected, and I have to give them the maximum and also the 10 towards all the other 10s. We probably have to see them as corrected and we give them the maximum we can, and also we opposite the whole world. Another topic. Well, I can't say if you can accompany us until the Congress, but we've been talking during the recent time about strengthening the 10. Maybe we can think about that. How do we strengthen the T, the hands, the plea in general from Rabish's articles, etc. Okay friends, let's go to General Assembly. Let's hear ideas that you brought up in the 10. And of course this is towards all the friends in the world. Please post your question marks please. Yes, we talked in the 10 about a few things. First of all, the fact that in a Congress we should have the topic of entrance to spirituality, and we are thinking about it, that we need entrance to spirituality for vote. The concept in the previous Congress was not, we don't talk about the prayer in the Congress, but we talk about the prayer before the Congress, and then we've thought it would be good idea to do it in this Congress also, so that in the Congress we'll enter our boot. There was a proposal to read the article in the opposite manner, because there he speaks about the corporeal art first and then about the entering spirituality. The suggestion is to read it in reverse. Start from the spiritual part and go to corporality. How do we actually implement it? Thank you. We could approach through a general template that we first build a deficiency for the topic. Then let's say if it's faith above reasons, and then why is it important, what does it give us, to whom, and so forth. And then we approach the Moscow one. Thank you. Moscow one. How to be in the Congress in the state. Over 10. Thank you Shabai. In the 10 we talked about the topic of fear, which we heard about in the previous lesson. We thought it's a topic that can accompany us as preparation for the Congress in the coming 3 months. How to be in fear of bestowing upon the Creator, and in the Congress to engage in bestowing upon the Creator. There was also a suggestion that the Congress will be silent with source excerpts with less questions and more internal and kind of prayer-like, and the topic was fear and bestow upon the Creator. How do we as a 10, how can we embrace and incorporate all of neighbour? Thank you. We talked about the spirit of as a topic, and specifically because there are changes. Actually nothing's changing, the basics remain the same, right? The group, the books remains, it doesn't matter in constellation. That's rare, and there's the group in the books, and that has to be strengthened, and maybe less of a Congress in stages 1 to 3, but to think about the general topic that we all come out with the spirit of. Not sure exactly how, but that. Thank you. Good morning everyone. First thing is the name. When you give something a name, you aim in that direction, so the name is important, because the preparation includes this direction of the name, and we have new discernments. We want to serve the society, to serve the Creator. So I propose what are the spiritual discernments that will help us to serve, and we know the first one that we have said, which is the friends. The first condition for this topic is the greatness of the friends. Thank you, said that the Congress needs to be about how to prepare for the future. Several ideas came up like a parliament of tens. In broad strokes, it was about the spiritual environment. How do we build it? Another friend added, how do we strengthen the love among equals? So, this whole package, Congress, asked the question that the topic of the Congress is connection, connecting all the tens into 110, the 10 of. So the Congress would be called 110. And how do we create a connection from the 10 when we become incorporated in each other if one shares something? And in this way, we all become incorporated, operated during the preparation for the Congress. We can make a clip of 1 or 2 minutes where every 10 or every friend will present himself, say what is his name, what does he do in the 10, and later on someone will share the schedule of their 10s. We can do it quite quickly, and then we can put this 2-minute clip in the Congress website, or even presented during the morning lesson, and according to these clips that the 10s will produce, it will help all the friends to become incorporated in that 10 and to be inspired. I remember that we had such cases during our studies in the past, and I think it will give us, it will help us to converge and to connect, and we will become 110, the 10 of, but such that it includes all the other 10s. Thank you. It's hard to ignore the feeling that all of humanity today is really engaged in the people of Israel, the attitude to Israel, and in Israel itself. There's a concern. Any person you speak to, doesn't matter who, express the concern for his family, for his country. Could be that this is the time, our time, to really feel like Moses when he was sent to take the people of Israel out of Egypt, that it's really this point where it's up to us, the role of taking the people of Israel out of Egypt and engaging in that, how to build a new society in Israel, and how to come back to the people, how to turn to them, how to really maybe treat it like work groups, but that this will ultimately be what we do. It's beautiful what Jacob said, what came up in art, and is the matter of the last generation. Because in this Congress, friends will physically come from all over the world to be with us here in Israel. So it's actually an opportunity to engage in that. What is this future society? What does it look like? Let's start working on creating this model, and also, like Jacob said, of course, also the society. Here, another small proposal until the Congress. Let's say that every 10 is responsible for the preparation of another 10 for the Congress. So let's start engaging in it. We monitor them, their connection, their problems. Another 10 focuses on us, and we focus on another 10. So we propose this as an exercise. Thank you, K2. Thank you, World Clee. You are not a couplist unless you've crossed the maxim, the barrier. The theme of the Congress should be how to cross. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. I might repeat some things that other people said, but maybe I don't want to do that. So just add that the crisis has grown. We have many disruptions, and we need clear rules in order to reach a state of one man, one plea, and in order for us to carry out a role and disseminate to the people of Israel and to the whole world. Women, New York 3. Thank you, friends. Our 10 zeroed in on the center of the 10. It's the wellspring of our force, both for our internality of our work and also for dissemination. Also came up was the last generation. Thank you, friends. To the thanks. Thank you. The topic is our role in the world. We can build the responsibility, and it starts with my responsibility towards the 10, my 10 towards the whole world Clee, and our world Clee towards the whole world, and how much indeed the whole world depends on us. Give motivation to our whole Clee, how much every friend is so special. The Creator chose him in order for him to perform some role, and also of course talk about how do we become a group of Kabbalists so that we can lead humanity forward. Thank you. Let's try to really incorporate with the ideas of the friends. Every friend is expressing something here. Everything is correct. We would do everything if we had the time. So every friend has a very special deficiency. Holland. Yeah. Great theme and great moment to look forward to this, the Congress. And we talked about the unity in the 10. How can we reach, let's say, states of connection? And we thought of themes like correction and faith above reason. Let's say, to make it really practical, how do we, let's say, make corrections through faith above reason, etc.? How can we help each other? So the focus would be what we've been doing the let's say for more than a month is faith above reason. So make it more practical to reach connection through faith above reason. 2. Thank you, ladies. In art, and the topic came up that the ladies would like that to be restored permanently. That's 1. Second edition, or in parallel, there will be another series of meetings so that we can re-go over the basis of the spiritual society, which is Rabash articles, the social articles of the last generation, that we will enter the Congress, already reinforced with our basis of what is a spiritual society, what are the components of a spiritual society, and also give an opportunity to other friends to teach who didn't teach yet, who didn't yet stand before the society, so that each one out of the society will be able to go out and be a teacher. That also came up something else. Thank you, Peter 1. The topic we're offering is the 10 is the basic unit, the basic spiritual cell, and how to delve deeper into that. I'd like to say that indeed we can't know what will happen on the day of the Congress, and because of that it's very worthwhile to choose a topic very quickly so that we will already enter the period of preparation for the Congress, so that the whole worldly is synchronized towards one topic, and this is what we engage in, and then we will feel more that everything depends on us. What will happen in the Congress depends on us, on our common effort until the Congress, so that all of us are focusing on a single topic and engaging in it and exerting in it. 25. We offer the topic of only an example, with exclamation at the end. We can talk about the daily lifestyle of the 10, and we heard from Rob this concept of passive dissemination once, so maybe we should start this kind of group so we have some sort of example both inside the 10 and inside the general group, the world group. And also with regard to the visitors center, we can also discuss that more in depth. In the last few years, I didn't hear from Rob anything except for the 10, everything is in the 10. So what builds the 10? What gives a form to the 10? The form of connection is the rules of Rabash in the group. So I would take those 3 months and study all of the social articles, not as we study an article today, but as Rob was studying 1 week for 1 article. We have many lessons about every article. We can study it in pieces from beginning to end, truly to get into it, discuss it. How is it in the tense? Let every article build us as a tent, so it will remain in us, and Congress won't be a study. It will be the implementation. In what way? Like the Arab Congress. This gives an opportunity to every tent to have a goal to resolve all the problems that we have in the tent between France according to these rules, to really spend the time building the tents, and as many friends as possible should be involved in building the Congress. Latin 2. The topic we chose has to do with gratitude. We have gratitude for who we are, and we're thankful that we're going to have a new center in Mexico City, also in Guadalajara, and so that's another physical center, and we all want to come to Israel, and we want to give gratitude for having the right intention. Thank you. The topic of annulment and being born into the new state. Thank you. Women have take a Congress from the past, say 2008, or something, and do the same exact Congress, but with a new spirit, but with all the lessons from the Congress, from RAF, and kind of connecting it into the chain. We said the 10 is a part of the society. How does the 10 influences society? How does the society influence the 10? Work on that connection. Thank you. Last ones will be Georgia. Please, we don't hear you. We want to greet and hug everyone. We talked about it, and we had such a thought in our state today of the world clean. What's most suitable is our V. That will go through different stages of our voodoo, how to approach it, screen reflected light, how to do all of this in the 10. And the goal is, of course, that all of the world group will unite and come together in a state where Rav slightly left us, and we will have to scrutinize how to be in connection, how to move towards unity, and from there to the Creator. Thank you. Okay, thank you to all the friends, all the men and women who shared. Anyone who has other ideas, please send us to our email theworldclee, and we will make sure to review all the suggestions and see how we can build a congress together. As we know, when we have a congress, it is built of many elements that put it together. Among other things, we have our study, we have social contents, we have meals, we have breaks, music, and more and more. And we today would like to focus specifically on 3 aspects, which are our study, the social contents, and the preparation we will have during the upcoming months. So let's get into focus about our study, and let's try to understand how do we see it exactly, because today we see that reality shows us that love gives fewer and fewer lessons, and even if you will teach during the congress, you know it's going to be in a limited way, in a restricted manner. And so we have to see how do we complete our part in this space that he is now allowing us to enter into. And so we now wanted to scrutinize between us when Rav does not give a lesson. Then the study between the friends becomes the heart of the congress. So how do you see the lesson being conducted when we the friends lead it? How should such a lesson look like? What should be in it, so it will give all of us spiritual benefit, and also that it will be felt as alive, connecting, and precise. Again, when we are in the congress and array cannot lead all of the lessons, what should these lessons look like of study among the friends? How should they be conducted? What should be the emphasis, and what should they look like? Let's discuss that in the tens and keep building the congress together. 10 minutes. Every lesson, I think, not that I think every lesson is based on a source. We're according to the topic, we have to read the source, and just like in every lesson, we start scrutinizing the source we've read. We take excerpts and we can read them, all of us together, and then friends will raise different topics that come from these issues, and we'll scrutinize them. It's a big amount of people, but if the process is well organized, then it's still possible to use an article and work on it together. Yes, I agree with you completely. It's just like Ravia is always meticulous about having the sources. Rosh Barulam always sources, and then he gives an explanation of it. I think this is how it happens. We have lessons that the friends give, and it's amazing. They completely rely on Rab's words. They elaborate them, they process them, but it's always based on Rab's words. And that works very well. So this is how I see our ability to do it also in the congress. Following what said, perhaps format of a new lesson can fit the congress too. Friends just teaching. That's one thing. Another thing I thought about. We have dozens of congresses. Maybe it is worthwhile to watch a recorded lesson from a past congress that fits the topic. Maybe not all the lessons, but at least 1, 2. That could also be very powerful, cause we see how special the lessons we had are. We see it from the morning lesson. And another concept we could explore is that a 10 will give the lesson. I like we had it here in the lesson. I think that it should be the way it was until now in this format that we call study among friends. When there is a source and we talk around the source, we build on it. So let's say read an article and then talk about it, or maybe selected excerpts. That should be the format. The lesson, my friends, I think needs to be based on the same excerpts for lessons with Rob, and to add some RA excerpts on that, mostly work on workshops. And the questions for the workshop, I think, need to be from the questions that the friends raise in the study hall, and then from choosing from the questions what is the question that is kind of most central and touches on us, and then discuss that in the workshops and then in an assembly, and keep moving forward and working on the study material, or by scrutinizing, or even giving the letting every 10 read through the text. I would do all kinds of workshops that way. Yes, I really liked Dana's idea. Actually, we've recorded lessons to find strong lessons from past congresses that are suitable for the topic. This will be the same atmosphere of a congress. It will be good because, nevertheless, the essence in a congress will be around Rav's lesson about workshops also, to continue the idea of the run, to actually have a few rounds in every lesson. I felt it very much now. There were a few lessons when Rav gave us workshops. I'm talking about the recorded lessons, And there were a few rounds, and then I remembered that these few rounds is exactly what allows us to delve deeper in the 10, become more incorporated. This is actually the essence of the workshop. In a single round we don't manage to become incorporated usually to truly see the Francis Gray to Enel, and so on. So this can be the essence of the Congress that will completely change its form, because usually with array, of course it's based on questions and answers. And here, when Rav participates less, this is the time to have a few rounds of workshops. It will be a completely different kind of connection on a totally different level. I thought it might have to do with the topic of the Congress, what topic it'll be, and also the content format accordingly. But if it says, let's say, the social article, then I would like the 10 through some minimal guidance to let them go dive into an article and scrutinize it and chew on it, like said, to read, to review it, and to make corrections and so on, and to extract some summary from it, some action plan for the 10, in short, to turn the article into something practical for each 10. Yes, there needs to be a spirit of inner work. So, in terms of the general atmosphere, we should allow for silence, allow for this inner silence. It doesn't have to be actual silence, but usually in congresses many times there's a noise and we don't finish the lesson already. There's noise, and so try to calm things down, let material sink into us also during the breaks. This is what I feel. Less noise and mess, and concentrate more on the contents. I think that really the same things we discuss studying with 2 teachers, 2 friends, written material. I also like what we get when we listen to the Zohar. For instance, we see moments from Rav where they really give it great direction and revive us and give fuel us. So some mixture of all those things, and maybe the crown jewel is really the workshops that allow us to incorporate with each other material, Rob's words, directions from Rob if we need some explanations from the friends, and workshops that could be really unifying and convincing. In general, we can build the whole process in the Congress, because I think that precisely the materials that we read and study in the lessons, this is what builds states in us. We can wait for the state to come from above, but we can also build the way ourselves, build this path that we will go through, and it influences us. The reforming light influences us precisely out of what we read, specific topics, things that we want to have. So build the lessons according to a process that we would like to go through in the Congress. We need to be ready for these lessons, maybe to give every 10 to begin with some directions for how to prepare for the lesson with the study material. So it's not just general, but every 10 needs to be ready for it, especially if Rob will not be in the lesson. Then every 10 will have ready-made questions and all of the preparation for the coming lesson that will come from the management, and this way we can come to the lesson a little differently than how it is with Rav, which is questions, but actually ready as 10 to discuss. Format. Yes, I'd like to add, I really like the format when friends from the world actually lead the lesson. There was a lesson where Yugat and Rauslin were leading it, so give a possibility to our friends, and these strong friends from the world to lead the lessons. All right, friends, we want to continue listening to you. We want to continue to an assembly, but let's really be incorporated with the friends' thoughts and what came up in every 10. Probably something really beautiful came up in terms of how we see our studies, our lessons in the Congress. Maybe it will also have an effect on our daily lessons. Let's hear each other. We have enough time for this assembly. Let's listen to everyone comfortably. And again, I want to mention, for every question we ask, send your ideas please to board. World Clee. We collect all the information in an organized way, and we can give input on that, so it helps us. So friends, whoever wants to share, please go ahead. Yes, we talked about it, that renewing the foundations of the society. Workshops, questions and answers, sources, meaning to have a congress, where we work with the emphasis being connection. We clarified that in the study among friends, we can do workshop between the 10s if, for instance, the topic will be Connection between tense can. Ladies, we spoke about the format where first we have a workshop in the tense, then we have a workshop of the whole worldly together. It helps us to be incorporated in each and every 10. It expands our heart. I think it's a very good format. Maybe after the lesson in the same topic to get deeper into the topic and also broaden it. Danny. Well, first of all, to base all the lessons on the sources and that the teachers, the friends will ask people to raise questions and then we can do workshops based on the questions, also do a few rounds of more incorporations during the workshop. Another idea is to watch some recorded lessons from previous congresses because we see how much powerful lessons we have from the past in the lessons. So maybe not all the lessons, but 1 or 2 could be according to our topic. We want to have more workshops in the Green Book about working in the group. According to Rapash, writes that first there is a question, and then he answers the question. It would be good if we would discuss the question ourselves and then hear a basher's answer or a clip with an answer by Raf. It could be effective. Thank you. There was an idea that the 10 will give a lesson in PT 23. We had the privilege in one of the formats before to give a lesson, and it caused the whole 10 to be really trembling and in an hour preparation. And this could be a very good preparation for the Congress. That's okay. We discuss how we can run the lesson during the Congress if RAR is giving limited time. So we look at the friends at Peter Petter, our friends, wonderful friends. So if I know for sure no one want to position himself as a new R, so if friends can create couples like Stan Gilad or Masha, or and I don't think we have any problems to run the lesson. Even so, we don't see any problems at this time. So go forward and thank. Congress is an opportunity for renewal and incorporation. I would be happy to see that friends giving the lessons will not be the typical presenters we're used to, but could be anyone like the whole, like a subset that the whole world that a 10 from the whole world clique could give a lesson. So we could see from Spain, from another place, from anywhere, just to for this incorporation to happen. We were thinking that either simply a recorded lesson or another option is when we study an article, bring the article down to the 10 and not put the timer on. Sometimes it takes a 10 an entire lesson to scrutinize it. It connects them very much. Another 10 maybe net less time. So not put on the timer because it stops us in the middle of incorporation. So what's your technical suggestion? So when we study an article, the every 10 gets the article and questions for the workshop, and it works on it in their own pace. So we all meet at the end in a plenum. Yeah, so every 10 goes to its scrutiny. And after a long time, we meet again. Yes, otherwise we lose our concentration because of the timer. Cab U9. Yeah, we were discussing the way the afternoon lessons go, that too. Veterans lead the afternoon lesson, and we were saying that it has been very, very helpful the way things are broken down and drilled down. It makes us understand and appreciate the topics very well. So the lessons that the RAV cannot lead if we can have at least 2 people leading, and workshops also introduced as well. Thank you. Okay, well, spiritual society cannot happen without a leader. And now we see that our leader RAR is less present. We need a leader in a spiritual society, and so we have to crown the creator to lead this Congress. This means we have 3 months to completely change our approach. How do I approach a lesson? How do I approach a gathering of friends? How the creator has to be 100% present in the Congress, and that necessitates thinking about any element. All the means we use everything, cause we can't be left without a spiritual leader. And we also see that creator insists on not dropping some leader like that on us, and we need the creator to be the leader of the Congress, and he's also the topic of the Congress. His greatness, his uniqueness, his ability to lead us as a society. I think that's most important for us to do. Thanks, M7. Thank you, dear friends. The main topic is we take the wonderful lessons of PRA in a recording from previous congresses. That's one thing. Then moderators. Each one can be a moderator. They are the ones who lead the Congress. I mean we stop the recording, and then we scrutinize in the tense sum question on the basis of the lesson. Thanks. Thank you. T3. Since all that people will say and then stand later on, and the people who will decide from these ideas to take something reasonable that will be the purpose of the Congress. So instead of doing that, let's do the opposite. To Adam, just do the opposite of that. Thank you. In general, we became incorporated with other tents, I guess. So the connection between other tents, we had similar ideas. So we talked about giving the reins to the 10. We have 6 lessons in the Congress. Our 10 will be responsible for each lesson. It's a lot of responsibility. So you have 3 months from today. Talk. Also work with the content team and you will lead the lesson. Everything 6tet will be chosen in advance. That's it. Thank you. Mark 24. An important matter during the lesson is who asks a question, who answers a question. If Rav cannot answer questions, then certainly the whole world group can answer, but who's going to ask? So the suggestion is that the world group will also be the one to ask a question. Some friend from the world group will ask, and the whole world group will answer. All of the experience that we had in the lesson with the moderators, the greatest inspiration was from the Shabbat lessons when we scrutinized the articles. And from our experience in the congresses, we remembered such possibilities. When we had an event in the style of a tish, it leaves an impression on the person for his whole life. Maybe have this format of the delving into it like a tishi. In congresses, most of the lessons look like questions and answers with Rav. We read something, and then Rav answers many questions, which is the deficiency coming from the friends. Let's say we choose a topic like last generation, and it will be divided to sessions, and the idea the 10s will of the lesson is very interesting. But I think that we have 1,000 questions that Rob answered on every lesson. We have video clips and excerpts, so there should be a small group that responds quickly. Let's say there's an activity in 10 and every 10 has to raise a question based on the article. This question could be expressed in the assembly and the response will be from Rob in a form of quote or video clip. What Rav said on that question. I think we have a bank of thousands of answers of Rob, and there's many times a feeling like we've heard this question before. We've heard Rob answer before. So I think that just bringing Rob to answer the questions in this form, I think that could work. Yeah, thank you friends. We thought we need to concentrate on the article of Rabash and Shamarti, and that will be able to strengthen our tea and the environment, and this way that we can build up the quality of connection. The format, we'll have workshop with short clips of Rav that he can direct us in the lesson, and the friends who can run the lessons, of course the ones who really running the evening lesson. They're doing amazing. And at the same time, we try to bring as well a couple of a few lessons on dissemination, and this way we can build the quantity as well, where we can spread the light outside. And I definitely agree with the fans that raise the importance of the time from now till the Congress. That's really it's a crucial time that we can try to concentrate on that to bring us as one man with one heart, with one intention, with the creators between us to come to the Congress really ready to do the work and be blessed by the Creator. Thank you friends, women, shalom, from the scrutiny between us. To add to what was said already, certainly workshops. In this Congress, we want to reach 110. And so in order to bring life, one of the questions was about how do we bring in more life to the Congress? Divide the workshops so that there would be workshops which are only in the tent, and then become incorporated with all the tents. It's not that we haven't done it in the past, but it gives a lot of power, and because we want to be incorporated with everyone, simply there would be times when we are in other random tents, and there would be times when we will be in our 10. We feel that this can give her a lot of life, this incorporation between us in our feeling and awakening each other. Thank you. Women USA 3 will be last. We talked about that it would be good, instead of talking about a complete lesson for an hour, to go through one topic, one idea, and one workshop on one topic, because it really is helpful to become incorporated. And it would be good if we could talk about the rules of the spiritual the workshop. Thank you to all the friends, all the men and women, those who didn't have time and they have ideas or will later have ideas. Please, as we said before, send them to Bold World Clee. I wanted to summarize this part before we move on to something else in gratitude to the Creator who gave us such friends, such men and women, were so sensitive and wise and high, with so many spiritual discernments. It gives us hope and confidence that we will succeed in building ourselves as new that will be proud of us, that His Spirit will be able to flow through our open hearts and flow through us to all the created beings. Let's continue praying that the Creator will help us and shine our path. It's clear to everyone that it's not the form that matters or the content that matters. None of these matters. What is important is that we will get closer to each other and become one heart that years to resemble the upper light. So, may the Creator shine our path. How to do it carefully and gently. All right, friends, as we promised, every week other than the discussion that we'll have each time on various topics related to our spiritual and social development of our society and of the entire organization. We said we'll also do a weekly update on various important topics that are on the agenda and are going to be part of our lives soon. So, the update I'm about to give has to do with our transition from a membership fee to a tuition fee. Why are we doing this transition to what we call a monthly tuition fee? First of all, we see that there's a growth in the community of Kabbalah students in Israel and around the world, starting from how we were as a small group in the past, and then the further we went, we advanced, we grew to dozens and thousands of students all over the world, and so far we relied on a handful of donors, actually, that went and shrunk over the years, and if we were able to this day through the friends who used to donate and give tithing, we were able to cover a big portion of our activity. But we see that this is happening less and less people do that, and that's also one of the motivations behind this process. The membership fee essentially used to be covering our tech needs, technology, and a relative portion of the maintenance of the building. Another thing, we want to create an equal distribution of the load with regards to everything that's needed to maintain our organization. And to this day, some of us feel it more, some of us feel it less, but a lot would fall on the friends who both donate and pay in various aspects. So now we want to create a kind of a fee that will put everyone in their place, where they can contribute in an equal way. The last point here is ideological, something we heard about from RA throughout the years, that even if we could cover all the expenses with our resources, still every person has to participate and give in return to everything that he receives and consumes. Why? Because it's a part of our spiritual work, and it's a part of us being partners on the path. So what is included in what we call the tuition fee? What is it covering? So first of all, it's not just covering what we need to produce lessons, but also the expenses for all of our spiritual infrastructure, everything that we ultimately use on a daily basis. Among other things, it has to do with the content and the teaching and how we produce that during the lessons, and that requires various systems that have to be developed and maintained all the time, for example, and all the lessons that we see recently from the past. So that whole process of taking the cassettes and the tapes, the old tapes, and digitizing them and moving them onto the broadcast, that happens by people who have to be working during the day to do this. And we also have tech infrastructure that we always have to maintain and develop, and that has to do with how we broadcast live the gear in our studios, including the cameras and the sound and many other audio-video infrastructure. We also have dozens of websites in Israel and around the world, which also have to be maintained and covered. And some of these are entire products like our archive. You know, when a person sees a web page, that's just what he sees, but behind it, there's an entire system sometimes that enables that to happen on a daily basis, and that includes our apps and servers, and also the whole internet world becomes more complex all the time. We also have to work on cyber security and implement that for all our systems. In addition, there's our physical center here in Israel, which is basically the heart where everything comes from, or the mind, and that too needs to be covered through the tuition fee as well. Another point is our student community in Israel and around the world. In order to sustain such a student community of dozens of thousands of friends, we need manpower to be able to manage it. There are people who need to go into the very details of everything and put in a lot of time into this. Of course, some things happen voluntarily, but our work became more and more professional over the years, and it just requires people who can be there around the clock in heart and soul doing that work. And in order to sustain this whole thing, we of course also need proper management and service. So that cost has to do with all the teams, with the management, with the productions that we have here and so forth. So, how did we create a model of a tuition fee that could be reasonable and decent for everyone? First of all, it's a differential fee, which means that it varies by country. So how do we do that? We take into account two properties. One is the cost of living in a certain country and the average income per capita. In addition to that, our friends who are regular donors could be any kind of donation, even help, that too is considered a donation, and of course, people who pay tithing. So in every month where we will examine what needs to be your monthly fee, we will every month look at 12 months backward. And if your 12 months peg backward sum covered the tuition fee, you will get 55% discount for your tuition fee for that month. This means everywhere you are in the world, wherever you are in terms of the differential distribution, even if you are in the lowest tier, you will still be receiving this discount. It's important to say that this matter of discount for the donors is not because a person donates. It's because the fact that he donates he's already putting in his part for our dissemination. That's why he gives 10% or gives a specific donation, a one-time donation. It's also important to say that the donations today already cover some of the relative cost of our entire system, and therefore what will be left to the charge from the friend will be only the relative part that is required for his use of the systems, and all the rest is covered by his monthly donation. In addition to that, we will also have personal kind of discount through Help a Friend Fund. And as we updated before, we were able to help at the amount of almost 700,000 shekels for friends all over the world. And this is an unprecedented achievement for us, because we are given an opportunity to thousands of friends who just don't have the ability to come and study, and this is a measurable thing because we do that through our own donations. So we are guaranteed to make a room for every friend in the system. Lastly, scholarships. For new students who started studying with us, they will have their scholarship and their relative term time, where they adjust to the system and they can study for free for that period in the system. This whole matter with regards to new students, you will get in general all of the people who come from Marku or Karbu or Mak or the global course. We will give you specific directions and instructions. You will receive that from your managers. So in general, how much are we going to pay? First, we are dividing it into 3 tiers. The first tier I'm talking now in shekels, but of course it will later be converted to euros or dollars. And the reason I'm mentioning the number in shekels is because the organizational committee of the financial investment of the non-profit of our non-profit made that decision to stick to the shekel. It's also some direction that we got from RAV over the years. So the first tier will pay 180 shekels. The second tier will pay 90 shekels, and the third tier will pay 60 shekels. Again, how do the groups divide? Based on a differential distribution based on the cost of living in a country and the average income per capita. And in addition, those who donate will receive a discount to the height of the tuition. So again, if I'm in the first year with where I pay 180 shekels a month, but my donations in the last 12 months is more than the annual amount I need to pay, then I receive the 55% discount. The same thing happens if I'm in the other tiers. Another thing that's important to say: in Israel, we are always sticking to the shekel rate, and in Europe you will be charged in euros. In the rest of the world you will be charged in dollars. We are now developing the system and working on it to start implementing this in early 2026. We'll talk about the exact date later on. We're now in the process of making sure we have the right system to take everyone into account. And again, in addition, just like we have help at Glee 1, there will always be that team that can give answers to anyone for any request. And this team will continue to serve us when we move to the tuition fee model as well. So we are now accelerating this process. If you have any questions, of course, you're invited to ask them. And that would be it for now. First of all, I'll say some questions that people send me now. Maybe you can answer them. Friends from here are asking, is this another payment we didn't have thus far? In terms of a friend from, is it an additional fee? First of all, it's relevant to the whole world. So far, we paid 80 shekels a month membership fee. We've heard this concept many times, this term many times. So this will be changed into what we call tuition fee. So it's the exact same fee. Now, if I'm a friend in, whether you are a donor or not, if you donated in the last 12 months and the amount of it is beyond your annual fee, you won't need to pay more. If you don't donate, you'll have to pay 180 shekels in order to distribute the load equally with everyone. They're also asking why someone who pays the tithing should also pay tuition. Why does one who pay mass also pays tuition fee? Because that's what we learned from Rob throughout all over the years. Everyone has to contribute. Even if we could cover all of the resources for free and we would receive an amazing, incredible donation, let's say, still every person has to contribute for what they're taking. So, even if I pay MA, I need to also pay for what I'm consuming. From here on, when we pay tuition, does it also include the tithing? Should we stop tithing? It doesn't include the mesal. The mesal is a spiritual action that a person does, and it doesn't belong to him. It's a part of the income that he receives. He gives 10% out of that income. Why? That's for the purpose of his correction. What you pay in addition is the tuition fee. That's for being a part of the Benber organization and using all of our infrastructure. The tuition doesn't that pay for the Arvut system. Among other things, the tuition fee covers the Arvut system. What we had so far when we called membership fee, that was only covering our digital systems, the Arvut system, the virtual home, the archive, and all of our digital infrastructure. The tuition fee expands this horizon, and now the coverage is not only for our digital infrastructure, but also for all of the maintenance of our activity in all areas. Where does the maintenance of the building in? The maintenance cost for? We pay 65 shekels a month for people who come to the lessons more than a day a week. So everyone who comes here more than a day per week pays 65 shekels a month. Those who come only one day a week give 30 shekels a month. Now if you take this and divide it to 2, it's basically 2 shekels a day. This covers the tea we drink, the coffee we were having during the lesson, and all the basic stuff that are required here to manage the lesson minimally. That includes even the water in our faucets. Another question I get, a volunteer who spends his free time, does he get a discount like donors if he donates professionally? No. All of us are people who also volunteer, but that's not connected to covering the expenses. Again, however, if a person has an economic problem, a financial problem, we have many systems to help that. That's why we have the differential pricing too. The goal of it is that we that for some friends that you will even pay less if that's the tier or of your country. Our goal here is not to make it harder on our friends. Of course, on the contrary, to make it more equally distributed and open to everyone, and also in general, there's always a help fund. That's the system. If you feel you have a problem, turn to this and ask. Don't be ashamed. There were many questions in this direction. What can I do if it really burdens me financially? So anyone who feels a financial burden, with regards to that turns to help in the system. You can easily turn to help, and there's no reason to be ashamed. Again, I say we have thousands of students who have received help until today. We will continue to help as much as we can to anyone we can. Calculation is not clear. Who exactly gets a discount and how is it calculated? So who receives a discount? Only the donors. Regular donors receive a discount. So it works like this. When you need to pay at the date you need to pay every month, we check your donation amounts for the last 12 months, and I look 12 months backward. If you crossed the amount that you pay for your tuition fee, for instance, 180*12, that's your annual fee. If you donated more than that in the past year, you're getting a discount. And that doesn't matter if you're in the second tier who paid 90 shekels a month. Then you do 90*12, and you see that if your donations covered that, you receive the discount. Question we get a lot: couple who pays the tithing together, do they both get a discount? Yeah, so about couples. We still, as always, first of all, everyone pays for themselves their tuition fee. However, we do relate to a couple as a single family unit, which means that we don't need to see a receipt for both the man and the woman, so it's enough to have one receipt from one of them. And when we test, where we check the discount criteria, we take the donations, we look at the last 12 months, and they will. Are there any other questions here in the study hall, please? I didn't understand what the tuition includes. If, let's say now, we're paying for the airport system, and in addition, we're paying for maintenance, are both of these payments included in it, or is maintenance in addition to tuition? So I'll explain. First of all, we pay for the hour vote, so of course it includes at. What else does it include? Covering our expenses for content production and teaching, and our expenses for the portion of the building. Again, the maintenance for the building is something that can cover the water, the coffee, and those minimal fees that we need just to cover the lesson production, not the entire building, in order to maintain our building on a monthly basis. That amounts to dozens of thousands of shekels a month, so we're covering that here too. This includes all of the mechanisms that accompany the students here on a daily basis, and it also includes the coverage of the management. So again, all of this comes from a place where, if until today we were able to cover a significant portion to donors, and we've gotten to a point where, as part of our maturity, as part of our independence, we see that we cannot just use the donors and the master to cover the expenses. We need to do this with everyone's money, with our own money to do what we use. My question was more technical. That is, will we now have to pay both tuition as well as for the maintenance of the building? As a simple question, yes, basically yes, both this and that. We're checking the option in parallel to united as a single fee. This is something that's relevant only for members and the Israeli people. I'd like to extend the question that was asked now. What payments we will have to pay in addition to tuition? So what will you need to pay in addition to tuition fee? Let's understand what we're paying for today. We have the virtual home, which is the membership fee. We have the maintenance fee, that's for the daily lesson, and we have some other costs, the meals for the meals, and so on. So everything that has to do with meals and events, I'm putting that aside. Okay, so there's just two payments I need to make. One, again, I said before, for members and the Israeli, we're looking into the opportunity to make it all just one fee, one payment. We're looking into it. We still don't have a final answer on that. We're looking into the option. If we won't be able to do it, it'll still be divided into two payments, the tuition fee and the maintenance fee of 65 shekels a month. Now that, of course, is not connected to or whatever special donation a person wants to make. The word maintenance can be confusing. If we decide we don't want to drink coffee and each one will bring water from home, we don't have to pay the 65 shekels. If you don't go to the bathroom, so you don't need 65 shekels. This is what it covers. So the world maintenance is air condition also, that's part of maintenance, the building maintenance. In one word, are you listening? Practically, a person who donates money, nothing will change for them. the same payment as they were paying until now, 80 shekels. That's what they will pay from here on. In most cases all over the world, they'll pay less because we made a differential. Just so you understand, a person who's living in Ukraine or in Latin America will pay $17 shekels. That's his tuition. And if he is a donor, he'll pay 55%. So $17 minus 55%, it's $89 a month. Right. You understand. But again, if we're talking about Israel, most of the donors are here. Anyone who is donating money, the amount he'll have to donate and nothing will change. Forget about maintenance, tuition or membership, whatever you want to call it. It can be confusing, but the idea is the following: transparency and sharing the load. If we can call it the load, you should call it a privilege, really. So, it turns out that we have 7,000 students, but only 1,000 donors. So those 6,000 friends can today study in the organization and pay nothing. Now I can tell them come and donate money. That's their personal decision. But with tuition, yes, I can come and say, look, you're studying here. Somebody has to maintain the building. Why should only maintain it, or only they? Is really the whole world should help maintain the building, operate the lesson. Let's say the noon lesson. It's true we have many volunteers, but we have dozens of people who work and get and should get paid for it, professional people. So, again, this discount of 55% is a dis. It's not a discount, really. It's not. Because I donate I receive a discount. No, because you're donating, you're already investing your part. What remains for you is to complete. It's just a part that you use for yourself. So, those who use things for themselves, that's unrelated to. So again, the bottom line, those who donate money, nothing will change for them. They might even pay less. Those who do not donate will have a possibility either to donate and or to pay tuition. They can choose whatever they prefer. Other questions? Okay friends, we are done in terms of our times. We listen first. We're in a process. We will have more opportunities to discuss this. Anyone who has questions, please do send them to help.1 help, and that's one. Anyone who wants can also turn to us. Friends, please keep your excitement in your heart. Wait a minute, please. Anyone who wants can also ask directly, and we will answer, and all of the questions will ultimately get an answer. Look, it's a process. Gradually, everything will become clear to us. We'll all understand how it works, and we are concluding. Thank you very much to our dear friends. We will read the final excerpt. Our goal is the connection between us, and in the connection to scrutinize the spiritual discernments. And if it's not in the connection between us, we won't reach spiritual discernments, but rather we will have between us, as we still have now, only corporeal discernments. You understand that there's a great difference. This is what we need to reach. Therefore, we have no choice but during the lesson to try to be as one man in one heart.